I am honored to have Lieutenant Colonel Sean Siebert joining us tonight on the program. In addition to serving our country in the Army and leading our brave men and women through Guatemala, Bosnia, the Persian Gulf, and Afghanistan, Sean will be the Republican candidate for Congress running against Representative Sheila Jackson Lee in November. In 2009, Sean was selected to join the 82nd Airborne Division General Staff in Afghanistan, where he became the commanding general's #1 choice to lead strategic board-crossing efforts in the Khyber Pass. He was able to show his strengths in job creation and economic growth, increasing revenue $203 million and serving as the face of America to local Afghans. He has done America proud. He will do Houston proud. And it is my honor to introduce the next congressman from District 18. Please welcome Lieutenant Colonel Sean Siebert to Red Radio.
Brandon,
I do appreciate you being here.
Thank you for calling me and having me on the show.
Hey, no problem. After this, long military career, distinguished military career, at what point did you say it's time to run for Congress, and why now?
Well, I've always thought about running for Congress since I was a young child. And when we're in Afghanistan, we had a thing called Pipe and Politics Tuesday nights. And after a long day, we find ways to unwind. One of the ways we did it was talk politics. And when I returned home, an associate of mine introduced me to Congressman Ted Poe, who, after an hour and a half of discussing with me, encouraged me to run. And I was really wanting to run now in District 18 because of the current economic status that we have. For the past 3 years, we've had no budget passed, and our economy has been stagnant or failing. And it's time to make a change and move our country forward again.
Now, the incumbent in your district, Sheila Jackson Lee, she's been reelected 9 times. That's 18 years in Washington, D.C. The district itself is heavily minority. It hasn't elected a Republican since the district moved areas, in 1972. Now, huge odds, but I know you've seen much tougher challenges. How do we win in November?
First off, it is a large minority district, but that minority is broken up in different groups. I mean, you have the African-American minorities, you have the Hispanic, and the Asians. Now, a representative needs to represent everybody, not just the African-Americans, not just the Hispanics, not just the Asians or the whites, but everyone, all 690,000 people there. As a Republican, I'm going to reach out to the African-American community, and I'm going to reach out to the Hispanic community. Both those communities need to be reached out by the Republicans. We've failed that over the past decade to reach out to these great people. Now, growing up, I was born and raised outside Chicago at about age 9. And back in 1972, I was one of the first white students bused from an all-white school into an all-black school.
Wow.
And I explained to people, I don't know what it's like to walk in a minority's shoes, but I do know what it feels like being a minority in a major group like that when I got bused from a white school to an all-black school. So I can understand some of the challenges of different cultures. All I want to do is reach out. I come from an organization. I've had different minority bosses. I work with minorities. In the military, we've been integrated, and we work as a team. And we have to, in District 18, come together and find a way to make it the best way. That means reaching out to the Hispanics, reaching out to the African Americans. I want to talk to Quantum LX. I want to talk to NAACP and see what their issues are and see how we can work together to improve District 18.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to say, this kind of goes into something that you were exposed to kind of growing up. Your own mother was an immigrant herself, and I'm sure from that experience, you certainly can relate to some of the constituents in this district. How has this fact influenced your outlook on maybe border and immigration issues?
Yes, my father was raised in a little small farming community outside of Chicago. My mother is German, and they met when he enlisted in the Army and did a short stint in Germany. And they immigrated back to the United States. She did not become a naturalized citizen until the late 60s. And growing up with a naturalized mother who brought me back to different cultures in the world, back to Europe, down to Mexico, and other places, I learned how different cultures assimilate into the U.S. culture and how those backgrounds help make our culture so much richer here in the United States. In addition, I have made friends. My girlfriend is an immigrant from Canada, and so being around naturalized people has really shaped me on the immigration issue.
Now, how has Sheila Jackson Lee, in your opinion, failed her district, and what can voters expect from Sean Siebert?
Miss Jackson Lee, I have to give her some credit because she has done some good things early on. When she ran against Craig Washington, she said that he had lost touch with the district. And she was correct back there 18 years ago. During that 18 years, she has lost touch with the district. She has a way of thinking to be in touch with the district is continually talking on TV, always being in front of the camera. A very wise person once told me, said, Sean, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Do twice as much listening as you do speaking.
Nice.
I sat there and I shook my head and goes, yes, Mom, I will. And one of the things she has failed to do in this district is actually listen to her constituents. You have to agree with them all, but you have to listen to them and take the concern forward. And that's one of the things I'm going to do differently than her. The other thing is, we've had in Washington now deadlock on the budget, and there's been a polarization across the board on Democrats and Republicans.
Right.
I am willing to work with anybody who's willing to work with me. And I'm not trying to be elitist when I say that, but I will work with the Democrats to get good legislation passed that helps this country. You deserve a government that will be fiscally responsible and thinks that the status quo is not the best for our future. And our children. Your children have the right for a better future that is not burdened with this debt of irresponsible spending. You know, right now, our debt is 100.3% of our GDP. That's, in layman's term, that means your credit card debt is more than your salary. And if we don't do anything now, it's going to take several generations to pay that off. And that's a risk to our national security.
Now, you mentioned that Sheila Jackson Lee, I guess kind of over the course of time, she's probably become more acclimated to life there on Capitol Hill, more so than listening to her constituents back home. What are some of those concerns you think she's failing to address?
The number one concern is our economy. One of the primary functions of Congress is to pass a budget, and that has not happened in 1,000 days now. The second thing is you have to read bills that before you vote on them. The health care bill, she did not read it before she voted on. I actually got an advanced copy and read it when I was in Afghanistan. And why our elected officials could not do that prior to the vote, I have no idea.
Right.
The economic engine of Houston needs to be engaged. District 18 is one of those great districts. You have a major airport hub, you got major interstate, you got a major rail line, and you got a workforce that is available, ready to go to work. It's a great place to have businesses develop. You have the University of Houston, you have Texas Southern University, so you've got the educated, you have the school districts that can provide good workforce, and people that really want to work. All we have to do is make sure that the businesses understand that the climate is ready for it. And she has not sold our district on that climate.
Now, what message would you like to send to University of Houston students who will be listening tonight?
Well, there's a few messages. One, I want the students to get registered to vote. And I want them to take action and vote. It's their future. I'd like for them to vote for me, but more importantly, I'd rather have people register to vote and actually go out and vote, even if it's not for me.
Absolutely.
Second thing is I do want them to vote for me. Third, they have to get involved. It's their future. If they don't get involved now as a student, 20 years from now, they're going to have trying to figure out how to solve these problems. Back when I was a young student in college, back in the early 80s, we were very apathetic about politics.
Right.
And now we're having to get involved and try to fix the problems that were generated back then. My commitment to you, the voters and the people of District 18, is to protect your rights, bring responsibility and accountability to government, and work to provide our children a better future. And remember, I am a servant to the people, not the other way around. And this is, every 2 years, I will come out for a job interview to see if I'm doing the job that the citizens want, because they are my employers, not the other way around, and I work for them.
Lieutenant Colonel Sean Siebert, thank you so much for joining us on Red Radio today. I certainly have appreciated your time, and thank you so much for joining us here on the program tonight.
Well, thank you, Brandon, and I hope your listeners go to Sean Siebert, that's SeanSeibert.com, and check out our website,